Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on enhancing Office 365 Voice with Contact Center. My name is Nicole, and I'm part of the marketing team here at Computer Talk, and I'll be serving as your moderator today. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone that if at any time throughout our webinar you have any questions, you can type them into our question chat window, and we'll address as many questions as possible at the end of our webinar. We'll also be recording this webinar and send out a link within the next couple of days. Today you'll be hearing from Brandon Viamonte and Chris Barton from Computer Talk. Brandon is the Director of U.S. Sales and Partnerships here at Computer Talk. He is a consultative solution specialist that has spent the last 12 years successfully working with unified communications, carrier services, and contact centers technologies to improve how enterprises communicate internally and with their customers. Chris is the Chief Software Architect at Computer Talk and has been writing code in one form or another since the mid-'80s. He's been working with Skype for Business since it was called Link Communication Server back in 2004, and he's been working with .NET since 2002. He's a big fan of UCMA, WCF, and XAML, and knows enough about most Microsoft development technologies to be dangerous. During the webinar, we'll discuss Computer Talk and the ICE Contact Center, current and future options for Office 365 and integration into the ICE Contact Center, Computer Talk strategy, and how we align with Microsoft. Now I'll hand it over to you, Brandon.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and good morning for those of you on the Pacific Coast. I'd like to say thank you for taking the time to join us today. This is our second. Of two webinars that we are presenting. Yesterday, we did it with our partner CompureX, who is a licensing partner around the world in regard to the what's new in the Office 365 space with voice. Today, we're going to touch upon that. So if you see this first slide here, we want to give you a little bit of context to what we'll be talking about from the Office 365 space, but at the same time we want to give you an idea of how we can take the solutions that you're trying to push forward and the business requirements that you have today, move them forward with the solutions that we offer, but then also really convey the idea that we have a strong technology roadmap that you can move forward with as your business needs change and or feature functionality is then added by Microsoft into the solution. So currently, as Microsoft is consolidating their different licenses, there's going to be two different SKUs of licenses that you're going to be able to use to connect into our hosted solutions. That's going to be the E3 license, and that's going to be the E5. We're not going to get into the specifics of which licenses those are today, but at the same time, we just want you to know that the E4 license that many of you have purchased to deploy Skype for Business in-house is going to be going away, and they're going to be consolidating those licenses into the E3 license with voice and the E5 license with voice. And both of them, as you can see here, have some different features that may or may not make sense for your business. But if you have any questions on that and you're looking at an end-to-end solution of consolidating your licenses and then also moving forward with a Skype for Business, either voice in-house with the contact center solution, we'd be more than happy to coordinate that conversation with you. So as we as we move forward, this is all right. So a little bit about Computer Talk. So for those of you that aren't familiar with us, Computer Talk started 28 years ago, and we were a hosted IVR solutions provider. So the major carriers came to us and asked us to build them an IVR solution that they could connect to the solution that they were deploying to their customers, and that's where Computer Talk was born. So from that IVR, we then added ACD feature functionality that then turned us into what we would call then a call center, calls in and calls out, with some standard reporting that was added to that. And then as we grew, we really focused on, due to the government and large enterprises that we were working with, we added application integration, so an application development team to go along with our contact center solution. So we are experts in contact center solutions. We are also experts in custom applications to be able to connect into the application databases and the solutions that run your business today. Back in 2005 is when we really started our Microsoft partnership. So we had a customer that came to us and said, hey, we're using this really great chat feature from Microsoft. How can we incorporate that into our contact center? So, Chris, who will be speaking later, and some other members of the team sat down with them, took a look at the core software that they were going to be integrating to, and they were able to not only add that feature functionality to ICE Contact Center, but at the same time, it really gave them a deeper look into the direction that Microsoft was going to be going with unified communications. So from then, in 2008, we got a front-end look of what the Link 2010 server was going to be, with all of the different voice components and all of the different media that would be handled by Link. In that time, that's when our development team and our CEO made the decision to move forward with Link as our core platform, understanding the vision that Microsoft brought to the table, understanding how it could be a very scalable and flexible connectivity solution into other PBXs, and then at the same time really deliver and enhance the contact center experience for help desk users internally at organizations, while giving first-rate customer service to business-to-business customers and business-consumer organizations. So since then, we have invested heavily in our relationship with Microsoft. We've become Gold Unified Communications Partners and Gold Application Development Partners. And based on our investment in Microsoft, where we use SQL Server to store all of the metadata that we are collecting from the calls and different media communications on SQL Server, our on Windows Server, and as you can imagine, our core software is UCMA, which is the Microsoft Unified Communications API. That being said, Microsoft loved the investment that we were making, loved the solution that we were bringing to the table, and chose us to be a partner that they showcase globally. So if you are traveling to World Partner Conference, if you're traveling to Ignite, we will be showcased with Microsoft, along with being there to answer any questions and show off our product that we're very proud of. So let me talk a little bit about ICE. ICE stands for the Intelligent Communication Exchange, and it is formed of a multitude of components that are all built on a single software base. So what that means is when you purchase or when you become a customer of ours, you get all of this different feature functionality out of the box, and with our licensing model, you only pay for the portions of the solution that you require at that time. So what that's going to do is it's going to give you a solution that meets your needs at a specific point in time, but with an understanding that you're going to be able to grow with that solution. So whether you start out at 5 agents, your organization grows to 1,000 agents, and or you need to add different feature functionality into your call center and turn it into a truly multimedia contact center. So to discuss those different components, we have a seamless integration between ACD and speech IVR. So you can use one component of that, you can use both components. If you have an existing legacy IVR that you can't quite move forward with, we can integrate with that as we decide to, as you add feature functionality to our software. We're also going to be able to manage all of the different non-real-time components that you have to type. So email, SMS, web chat, IM, social media. And when I say not real-time, we're not going to have the latency and the jitter issues that you may have over the internet with those different components of the solution. So you're not talking to someone or looking at someone real time. The real-time port component is voice and video. We then move into speech analytics and business intelligence. And when we say speech analytics, what that means is we're going to be able to run a application like a Cortana or a Siri that you might be familiar with in the background of our contact center that is looking for keywords, statements, or phrases that if those are triggered within the contact center, we're going to be able to create some sort of internal alert or message to a supervisor or an administrator saying that we really should prioritize this communication over other communications in the queue, or there's a problem here, we need to take care of that. The BI, so business intelligence, even though we are keeping all of this information within the ICE environment on a SQL server, we are not limiting your access to that information. So if you have Power BI through your Office 365 subscription, or you use some other business intelligence solution, you're going to be able to extract information, metadata from the contact center and actually take it and turn it into something that makes sense for your business to help you make better, faster business decisions. So that brings us down to the bottom right, which is native CTI and CRM and screen pops. In our workflow designer, which Chris will get into, Chris Barton will speak a little bit to more as we go through this, we have what we call universal connectors into our solution. So that is going to allow us to be able to connect via web services, SQL query, or some sort of connection without having to specifically program to the application that we're connecting in with, giving screen pops and potentially moving forward to an automated integration with the different solutions. So give you a perfect example of A, where we are working with Microsoft, and B, how we're adding advanced applications to different databases. Microsoft is currently adding native SMS, communications, and surveys to Dynamics CRM. One of the components that we offer today is surveys, and also we have an SMS integration. But what that means is when you add that component to Dynamics, we're going to be able to take these surveys that go out to customers, and if there's a communication that is required, so for example, would you like to speak to an agent? Would you like more information on this product? As you send out surveys and communications via SMS, we're going to be able to respond back, get that to a live body or someone to respond to where an organization can follow up. So whether it's a help desk internally or whether it's a consumer using the product of the organization using these services, we're really going to be able to take the information that you use to run your business, give it a communication element, but turn it into something tangible and that you can build off of to either improve your brand or improve the lives of those that are working for your organization. So our contact center is an inbound and outbound communication. So customers, people calling in can leave messages. The system can automatically dial out. We can run what we call ICE campaigns. So if you have campaigns that you need to use the outbound dialer for, you're going to be able to handle that as well. And within that component of the outbound, you have alerts and surveys. So customer calls in, you finish up with them, you can automatically have your system set up to follow up saying, hey, how was that? I know, for example, when I get my oil changed, I get a message after saying, how is your oil change from 1 to 10? How would you rate the service via text message? We're going to be able to handle all those communications as well. Getting a little bit deeper into knowledge management, we can connect workforce management. So for organizations that really want to take and automate the scheduling process changes within the human resource side of the contact center, we have native components to that. Analytics, being able to take information and turn it into something tangible, and then reporting. We have over 100 standard reports in our contact center, and those reports can be customized to your specifications and embedded into the contact center. So if you have the ability to write your own reports, you can then create your own reports, or if you need that, we also do offer that as a service. Finally, we have quality assurance monitoring and recording. So for either compliance reasons, for internal training of agents, you're going to be able to record via traditional call recording and screen recording agent interactions of their time with the different people that they would be working with in the contact center. And from there, we offer a whole host of different evaluation types to where you can grade and score and share that information with the different people working with your contact center. So when it comes to the Microsoft solution and when it comes to the contact center, there are going to be two types of contact centers. One is a qualified only contact center. And what that means is Microsoft has taken the time to test, work with, and certify that that contact center is going to work with Lync and or Skype for Business. That being said, it's not a true end-to-end native solution. It is kind of what you would say bolted on, to where there might be some components that are native Microsoft, but then there might be other components that are not native Microsoft. So there are definitely advantages to looking at a native contact center. The native contact centers are trusted applications within the Skype for Business environment, to where they are using certificates to prove their identity in the Skype for Business server as the trusted applications. In other words, native Skype for Business contact centers are trusted applications that can directly control the Skype for Business server and provide value-adding contact center services such as IVR, automatic call distribution, and recording to that native Lync environment. So what we are doing is, as you as an organization are either leveraging Microsoft to handle your voice, leveraging a third-party hosted provider for the Lync voice, or you've built in a high availability Skype for Business solution internally at your organization, we're going to be able to leverage that investment in all those components that you've built in today and get more out of them. So you reduce costs, you improve functionality, and you give a better overall experience to the users that are going to be using the Skype for Business solution. So when earlier we were talking about when we looked at Microsoft originally to bring chat on as a media component to our ICE contact center, why did we do that? So if you look at the right side of the slide, that's kind of where we started out. A bunch of different components that were kind of pressed together, and we made them work. The challenge with that, as we were bolting on these different components, as there was an improvement in one or a change in another, that affected the way that all the different components work together. It also wasn't as seamless as a single unified solution. So if you look at the left side of the slide, that is going to tell you all of the different components that are under the Microsoft umbrella that were built to work together out of the box. So this being said, if you're an ICE or a contact center administrator, a network administrator, or a voice communications administrator, you're going to be able to give a lot more feature functionality. The components are going to work together because you're bolting on fewer components and trying to get them to work. And more importantly, as upgrades are made to the Microsoft stack of products, all of those enhancements are going to be pushed through to the contact center as well. So it's significantly easier to manage. You get a lot more components to it. And as Chris will describe, our method on how we take advantage of the elements that your organization is used to working with is also one of the bonuses of the ICE version of a native Skype for Business contact center. So with that, when you look at what Microsoft is talking about out there, they talk about how all of the different components of a Microsoft solution work together. And that's very important because what we are seeing is customers of ours that are investing in Microsoft are investing heavily in Microsoft, meaning that it's, at some point in time over the next 36 to 60 months, they have a complete internal business strategy of pushing their CRM, their databases, and all of their information into a Microsoft solution. So what that means is we as an organization have to not only be prepared to connect and give high-end feature functionality to the applications that the organizations are using today to run their business and connect with their customers or internal users, but at the same time, understand that there's going to be a transition period from the non-Microsoft investment to the Microsoft investment. So as organizations are potentially moving to Office 365, then upgrading their communication solution from Avaya and Cisco into a Link solution, either in the cloud or on premises, we are really there to sit there and allow these organizations a great transition path to where they are today, where they're going to go, and then with the understanding that even down the road, for things that we cannot predict, we're going to be able to create that central software solution that is the core connector into all these different technologies. So when we look at Microsoft, the ICE Contact Center, and when we look at ICE Contact Center and how it's going to be integrating into the Microsoft stack with the 365 voice online, this slide gives us a really great idea of what is available today, what is coming down the road. So to give you an idea, today if you were to December 1st of 2015, the E5 license dial tone in the cloud became available in the United States. That means that you can add a user, Microsoft will give you a phone number, you can dial in and you can dial out and you can take calls. However, not all of the features and functions are available to you. So if you are an individual remote worker working in Nebraska for a larger organization, then you're traveling around sales, that solution might work great because you're going to be connected to all of the email features and functionality that you would get from a chat standpoint, and now you can have dial tone, so you as a telecom administrator don't have to go out there and find information or a local number or put any infrastructure out there to deal with. Then Microsoft is going to be adding features, call forward, the find me, follow me features, more importantly 911. Then as they add 911, you're going to be able to bring your existing telephone numbers, and I know that's always been a big question in any telecom move, whether it was from a carrier to a hosted provider or from one PRI provider, SIP trunk provider to another. Can we bring our numbers? Microsoft is then going to allow you to bring your numbers. Then finally, you're going to get response groups. So that is, as we all know, those are the groups that you can create internally, for example, sales, a group of receptionists over an environment, creating that a little bit more advanced features. And then finally, they're going to be growing from different countries, adding these different features. So there's a path. Obviously, Microsoft wants to own everything, so eventually it'll be in every country that will allow them to set up a legally shop. So if you look at the top there, I have, the roadmap is Microsoft roadmap. It's going to be 18 to 24 months from today. That is a personal opinion of mine. So when I look back and I look at, the adoption moving away from your old Siemens phone systems, your Nortel, and then your Avaya, to when Cisco really started to make an impact on the marketplace with the, really pushing voice over IP, really pushing that different network, to what the adoption of Office 365, just taking your Exchange server and putting it into the Microsoft cloud. You have those early adopters that are immediately going to jump into this solution. They're immediately going to do it. And then you have the people that want to see and wait and make sure that it works first. And then you're going to have kind of that hybrid, where they have a basic need now. It isn't necessarily their core company infrastructure that they're going to be replacing, but they're testing it on small remote offices. Just like when people would be putting in the link server to test it out with collaboration, and then test it out with a few people in IT. Now it is a globally accepted, PBX with, hundreds of thousands of users on a single implementation. That being said, I really feel that you're going to see a slow adoption into the Office 365 voice, and as it becomes more readily available, more people talk about it, I do have a strong feeling that's going to be a very solid solution that I feel a lot of different organizations are going to move forward to. So with that, and even with all of the different feature functionality that Microsoft is going to bring into this, why are you going to need to enhance these different solutions? Why do you need to add to Office 365? So one of the main reasons is there's simply going to be some things that Microsoft isn't going to provide you. Microsoft is not going to get into the contact center business. There's going to be some different components that you may need to enhance. You might have some specialty applications that you want to integrate into the solution. And knowing that you have an avenue in which you can do all of those things is going to be very important. So we at Computer Talk, when it comes to the Skype for Business space, have identified 3 key users. We call one the basic response group user. And the basic response group user is really a user that the basic components that come out of Lync are going to be just fine. These are organizations that are heavily invested in chat, email. They don't necessarily talk to each other as much. They might do internal peer-to-peer communications to communicate and answer questions back and forth. They might use their phone to order lunch for their department, but they're not big, heavy phone inbound, outbound users. The next group is where we have a little bit more of an advanced user. They are using their communications platform, the unified communications, to communicate significantly internally and or with their customers. For example, we're seeing this in doctors' offices today, where you have a group of nurses and or receptionists at different facilities answering calls, being able to triage those calls and get them to the parties that need it more. They, for different reasons, need recording. They need be a bit more dynamic messaging. For example, today it's snowing. We're not going to be able to make it into work, and please, call us, or there may be a delay in our response. If you're in Washington, D.C., that would have happened yesterday with that 1 inch of snow. So, and maybe potentially some third-party application. And then finally, that third user is going to be the full contact center agent, where you have the traditional contact center agent. They might be connected into different databases of information that they're managing for customers. They want some sort of integration and automation between the callers that are calling in, the information that is presented to the agents, so they can more effectively manage their internal help desk and their customer service. They want real-time queue statistics. The supervisors want to be able to be involved, manage the environment, and really have a full suite of information in front of them that they can then make decisions on. And most importantly, the multimedia ability of the contact center agent. So in the basic response group user, you're not going to be able currently to queue up different instant messages, social media, and emails. Within the advanced response group user in ICE and in the contact center agents, you're going to be able to do more with those different media that the business is then connecting with in the future, be it an SMS communication, be it an instant message, a web chat. Down the road, we're going to eventually have anonymous video on the different websites. So all those different media will eventually come in, but Microsoft is really going to be responsible for the basic response group user. We're going to be we're going to be able to effectively connect to the path that you move forward with, and beyond. So I went a little bit too far there. So knowing that we are going to be there with you, everything that you can do in Office 365 and the direction that Microsoft is moving forward with, we're going to be able to connect into that today and tomorrow. So one of the things that people ask us is, how is the adoption of these solutions? And we say, well, I guess that's twofold. We have some organizations that are putting out these amazing RFPs, asking us to respond to them, and then we put out this information. And because of the way that we present that information, we tell them how much power we have in a single software tool, how it's going to consolidate and give them significantly more feature functionality than they were asking for in the RFP. We're seeing a lot of people kind of hold back. And I think that is one of the challenges that we have in this, this new cloud and this continuous delivery model of the solutions that are, offered by cloud providers like Computer Talk and then Microsoft with Office 365. Those of you that have Office 365 today, especially if you're doing the implementations of Office 365, you will note that every week or every 2 weeks, there's a lot more involved with that solution. When it comes to the contact center and the features and functions that we're delivering as well. So when it comes to adopting a solution or a multimedia omni-channel contact center, what I really want you as an organization to focus on is, what are your requirements today? If you're ripping out your legacy Cisco, if you're ripping out your VIA and you're investing in this multimedia solution, what are your requirements today? Does a solution that is placed in front of you, does it meet those requirements? But also, does it potentially do a lot more than you were expecting? If the answer is yes, be prepared to move forward with that solution that makes sense for your business, knowing that as your business requirements change or you become more comfortable with that technology, that you can add components at your pace. So with that, I'd like to say thank you very much, and I'm going to transition you to Chris Barden right now. And for those of you that don't know Chris Barden, he also has his Vice President of Software Engineering, Bernie Lee, with him. They are two of the most respected software development engineers in the Microsoft Link space in the world. So if you have any questions, no matter how challenging or how forward-thinking they are, please ask those questions, because we have some really, really brilliant minds that are going to be answering these questions and presenting to you today. Again, thank you very much.
Well, thanks for the setup there, Brandon. Okay, so I guess what I want to start doing is, just to reiterate some of the stuff that Brandon said there with the missing features in Office 365. And I think one of the things to take away from that is that we all know that what's in the E5 today is not the end product. There is a roadmap. That service is going to constantly evolve. And one of the things I think I want to drive home is just to kind of show you how our solution works and how it works with that continuum of service. So how we can work with what's there today and how we continue to work with what's being added in the future. So I guess the first thing I want to call out is just a couple of point slides here on just how we handle media, because I think that's important to sort of have a baseline. So the main media types we're handling right now we've got email, we've got voice and video, and we've got SMS, web chat, and instant messaging. So all of those kind of get handled today, and they get handled using existing tools. So for example, anybody who's got an email platform out there, they're used to using Outlook, or they're using mail on their mobile device. And what we want to do as a contact center is we want to be able to apply structure to that. So we want to be able to say, we're going to route those emails those contacts more intelligently. We're going to record that data and be able to eke intelligence out of it. We're going to tell you how much time you're spending on your communications and with who. And in no part of that do we need to change the way that you actually interact with that media. So, for example, on email, I know there's platforms out there that say, well, if you're handling email that comes to the contact center, you have to use their mail client on their platform. And what we do instead is we just route that straight to your existing mail endpoint. So we actually use the existing mail servers that are there. So on Office 365, we're working directly against Exchange Online. We're going and looking at what's in those mailboxes, and then we're forwarding those onto agents. All the tracking information is embedded within the message. Agents can use as little as just a mail client. Read that message, reply to it, and that gets routed back to the caller. So at no point have we changed the way they interact with their email, but we've all of a sudden added all those extra features on top of the interaction. Now in this screenshot you see here, this is an example of an integration we do with Outlook. If you see on the top right, there's some extra controls we've added to the client. That's just to give agents a chance to opt in and out of communications, say log in and out of queues. This is a kind of integration we do a lot with people who want to deploy subject matter experts. So what this could be is this could be second or third tier support. Basically, anybody inside the organization that wants to, that the frontline contact center might want to reach out to for more information. This way, we could pull those people into the structured contact center communications without actually having to make them full-on agents. So it's using a piece of the solution, but again, it's using familiar tools. So, we're really acting, from the email standpoint, we're acting as a client the whole time. Voice and video, similar idea. So in this case, we've got on the screen is we've got a Skype for Business client over on the right, and in this case, it's handling a PSTN call that has generated a screen pop in Salesforce. So again, one of the things that we're doing here, and then I want to call out, is that a lot of times with contact center, what you're doing is you're fronting your application with fronting with some sort of IVR that can do preliminary routing, some self-service. But it's also gathering information about your customer, based on the phone number you're calling in from. We can usually identify who you are, do some lookups and authentication to figure out that yes, you are who you say you are. And once we do that, now we want to be able to push that information to the person answering the call. So that's what the screen pop interface does. And what you can see along the top of the screen there is our agent desktop tool. So this is the tool that Brandon mentioned. What it does is we give kind of traditional contact center agents more control over what they're doing from an ACD perspective. They get visibility, some aggregate visibility into the queues, and also are able to drive these screen pops, which is really any application we can address on the machine. It's actually able to run arbitrary script on that desktop that we can write, or we can actually let customers write themselves to automate just about anything. I mean, we do Salesforce and Dynamics are two big ones, but we've gone all the way back to green screen terminals to automate two or three different things and pull up a consolidated view on the agent desktop just to save that person some time and let them get right into handling the interaction. Now this particular call, like I said, it is coming in over the PSTN, but being a native Skype for Business solution, one of the advantages we have is that those calls go to agents as Skype for Business calls. So if both endpoints, like your caller and your agent endpoint, are on capable devices, that can be a voice call, but that's a voice call that can elevate to video. So we can actually pass video through the contact center. So I can have, for say an internal help desk scenario where I have Skype for Business users calling the help desk, those can turn into video calls. If I'm exposing an endpoint on consumer Skype, which we also support, again, one of the advantages of being native there, we supported instant messaging and voice through consumer Skype pretty much from the beginning. But at one point last year, Microsoft turned on federation for video and turned on federation with Skype IDs, not just MSAs. And at that point, we were able to add those features into ICE, and it was almost no work on our part because, again, we're inside that link topology. So what we're doing is we're able to take those video sources. Any of the codecs and transcoding stuff is stored on the Microsoft side. So really, the Microsoft interop story is our interop story. So we actually have customers going live with that now that are doing customer service over Skype, where they're exposing anyone with, letting anyone with a Skype account make a video call into the contact center. And then I guess the other modality, call it there, is desktop sharing. Again, this is a Skype for Business internal feature. So again, those help desk scenarios, or even any federated help desk scenario, we're able to accept and pass through a desktop sharing session. So again, that makes things like co-browsing or troubleshooting with a back-end agent a whole lot more effective because we can just pass that through. And again, it's using the existing tools that people already know how to work with. Now, I guess one other thing to call out on the voice, and this is going to be relevant later, is that again in this particular case, I'm showing the agent on a Skype for Business client. But the way that we connect up an audio call is it's important to distinguish that we're not actually doing any sort of CTI integration with the PBX. Some vendors do that, and that's a valid approach. Except what that means is that now you're writing an integration for every PBX, and every deployment is is kind of custom. And what we're doing is we're instead just reaching out to an agent on an address. So what we do is we first establish a call to the agent on whatever endpoint they happen to be. So if that's their Skype for Business address, they light up some extra features, but if it happens to be a legacy PBX or a mobile phone, we can do that. As long as we have a 10-digit number we can dial them on, that's fine. So again, that's kind of comes to play in migrations, and I'll come back to that in a little bit just to kind of drive that home. So this screenshot here, similar type of interaction. Again, we see you've got the agent toolbar up at the top. In this case, it's a web chat. So again, IM, web chat, and SMS are all handled using the Skype for Business client. So what we've done with SMS is we actually we have a gateway service that will listen for SMSs, and then we back-to-back those as IMs to the agents. And the reason we do that is that now an agent's able to handle an SMS without having to learn a separate system or have a different client. So we're not actually forcing them to handle it on their mobile device. We didn't write a custom client. Any agents that are already using IM or web chat are now able to start doing SMS. And then from the web chat side, what we do is we have a web chat client that we can embed on a website that will let people do anonymous instant messaging with the contact center. So as Brandon kind of alluded to, that right now it's a UCMA application, but what we're working with, and we're actually working with Microsoft on some next generation APIs that they have. If any of you are familiar with what's rolled out on the Skype side of things, the new Skype for Web, the Skype Web SDK that is sort of in preview right now. We've been working with Microsoft for about 1.5 years on that since they sort of first gave us a look at it. And we're actually working on rolling out a next-gen web chat client that will support instant messaging audio and video, sort of in line with when that actually does get publicly released. I know it was supposed to have been out last year. I know that the product team has done some retooling. We've had some back and forth with them on feedback, and I think despite the delay in it, is going to launch as a better platform than it would have been last year. So this is sort of the advantage of being native, is these kind of things, once they come online, it's features that we can bring into the product. And again, it's exposing those other modalities as reach clients, I think, is important. Part of the appeal of Skype for Business is the whole UC and the continuum of communications methods that can exist in a single conversation. So exposing that to more people is only going to make that more powerful. So that's kind of the way we deal with communications to end users. Really quick, this is what a screenshot of what our workflow designer looks like. Workflow is really sort of the brains of your contact center. This is the back-end tool that we use to develop what a call flow looks like, how calls are routed, what we do to them before they reach an agent, and even what we do to them while we're listening, while an agent's on call. Like as Brandon mentioned with the speech analytics, we can actually, the way we do speech analytics is we can actually run one of these applications while a call is running. So not only are we're listening for keywords, but anything we can do in this tool, we can do while a call is happening. And as far as things we can do with that, it's beyond, in addition to, playing prompts and doing speech rec and, text to speech and all that, there's actions like, there's built-in actions for transactional database access. There's built-in actions for web service integration. There's built-in actions for running custom code if you want to write do something really low level. All of anything you really want to do to go crunch some numbers in your back-end system, get information about your client. We can do that within the workflow designer. So it's something that you can make live changes to while a system is deployed. So what we typically do is, when we give this, we give this tool to end customers, they're free to go and make changes to applications or build test applications in there. And then we can run we can pretty easily build a test application, try it out, promote it to production, and then have a live change. So a lot of times customers will engage us to do sort of the initial development, just because building an application is not just being able to drag the right icons onto here and connect everything up. There is a flow that you want. There are certain things you want to make sure you do in in a call flow application. But customers really like the ability to go in and say, they have an emergency, they have to evacuate the building or something, or they're closing early, and they can put, just drop a new announcement in without having to go to us to, make changes to their system every time. So that's just kind of really brief on what the workflow designer does. Standard tools that we have, I think what we saw at the toolbar at the top is the ice bar there. This screenshot is really just the landing page on our universal web interface, which is kind of it's our single pane of glass for managing, administering, and monitoring the platform. Think of it kind of similar to the Office 365 portal, but then tools we've got in there. The journal is a tool for reviewing contact history recordings. Contact evaluations are all built in there. The administrator is where the workflow designer lives. Reports we talked about. That's all your historical data. And then Monitor is a tool we have for real-time supervisor or agent capabilities. Really, it's a tool that's there for I want to look at the condition of my system right now. I want to be able to watch that, and that's something we expose to your base level agents all the way up to your global administrators. And what the nice thing there is, again, it's a single tool for that kind of tailors itself to the type of user that's there. So, a base agent's not going to be able to see things that they're not supposed to, but it gives them the deep visibility into the queues that they want. Or what they can do is you can actually log into Monitor and say, I want to build a custom dashboard for this user that says, okay, well, here's the 5 queues you care about, and that's what they can live on. So there's really some flexible tooling there. And then the screenshot, this slide here, a lot of what's coming out of Microsoft these days is that you hear them talk about mobile and cloud first. And this is kind of to drive home. I think we talked about the Skype web APIs. I mean, we've been working with the product team down there for a long time, and one of the some of the things that are in the pipeline. Like I know I mentioned the Skype Web SDK. There's also a mobile SDK that's in the works, and what that is going to let us do is take anything we're building for the web and take the experience you get as a Skype for Business user talking to ICE and offering that as part of a mobile application. So what that means is the customers who have existing mobile apps can now communications enable those apps, and what we can do is now take the context that exists in those apps and pass them into the contact center. So the app already knows, has the user's identity. It knows what they're looking at. It might have a good idea of why they're calling, so we can send that information straight onto the agents, and all that interaction is done from directly within the app, as opposed to having to go out and then rebuild that context from somewhere else. So that's kind of just a little bit there. I mean, the screenshots you see here, on both of these devices, you're seeing the ICE Journal application that I mentioned. Typically, that is going to be used on a tablet type screen just because there is a lot of density of information there. But the screenshot on the phone there, that's from an actual system, and what that shows is just that if you do want to access things like evaluate a recording on your phone, you can do that. So we've kind of made a pretty strong case within product here that we want to make our technology universal. So just for example, like all the recording streaming is done plugin free. So we have to make sure that we're picking formats and codecs that work across the board. That we're as flexible as we can be there. So Office 365, that was sort of in the title for the webinar, sort of putting that right at the end here. But now that you've got the context of sort of how we work, there's a few different scenarios I want to talk about here, and that's so you've got Skype for Business on-prem, Office 365 with the legacy PBX, and then the full E5 Cloud Voice. So this is kind of what we've got today, and that's that's Office 365 users that are sitting there. They're on an E3 or even on an E1 that they just have basic mail IM presence. And as long as that user can sign into Skype for Business Online, we can send them communications as a full member of an ICE contact center. And the way we do that is in a cloud-to-cloud scenario. Either the box you see in the middle there, where we have ICE contact center and Skype for Business server. What we actually have in our cloud is we have our own instance of Skype for Business that we run there. It's a very, very large, very well distributed Skype for Business deployment with a total of 0 real users on it. And it's interesting because what that means is that we're using the Skype for Business infrastructure on our side to do all the heavy lifting, the connectivity to the PSTN, the conferencing, all the media switching, and then we're leveraging Federation on that platform to talk to Office 365. So what that does is it means that all the communications come into 365 users as IP audio calls. So the same way that those 365 users can join a Skype meeting that somebody else is hosting, mean they could join a contact center interaction. A contact center interaction can have PSTN connectivity, which means you can have an inbound, outbound contact center user hanging off of Office 365 with a Skype for Business identity on an E1. So that's pretty cool. Now, that infrastructure, obviously, that could run cloud, that could run on-prem if somebody really wants. The other thing that is sort of coming online later on is running this directly in Azure. That's currently something that the product team doesn't support. There's some reasons that it's not working right now. Those are being, we're investigating that with Microsoft kind of as we speak. So that will get there. Not available today, but again, we're kind of on the leading edge of making sure that that's going to work, because that's obviously, that for us it means we don't have to manage the infrastructure. And for customers, it means, we're running directly in Azure. It means you're not messing around with as many things like express routes. Everything is just sort of there. So next slide here, this is talking about, Cloud PBX. And in this case, this is your full E5. I've got PSTN connectivity into Skype for Business Online. And the difference between this and the slide before is that agent now has a dial tone. We are still sending calls to those users using Federation. Those are still coming in as IP calls. Those users still have full voice, email, IM, SMS, all the features that we offer. But the difference is now that agent can pick up the phone and make a call. So if you're anyone who's migrating with 365 now, or even with an on-prem system, they're still able to keep the same. Their configuration on ICE doesn't change at all. They're an agent at the beginning and they're an agent at the end of the migration. The difference is just where their telephony goes. So, in this case, they're getting their telephony from Microsoft. In this next slide, this is this might be an example of a hybrid deployment. So this could be somebody who has existing infrastructure on-prem, wants to move that to the cloud. So while they're in process of moving, they've got some users homed in both places. This could be Cloud PBX with the minimum topology on-prem with the gateways, or it could be some combination of that, where certain users have to stay on-prem for compliance reasons. In any case, all of that still works. Users who are on-prem, if they're enterprise voice users, maybe what we do is, we're sending those calls as SIP calls. If they're legacy PBX users, we can actually just nail calls up using a 10-digit DID. Those users might not be able to do, they won't be able to do the inbound elevations, but if you have a Skype IM presence user, they can do instant messaging and SMS on Skype for Business and still take voice on their PBX. We try and work with people through those types of migrations. So again, it's really look at what kind of look at what you've got today. We can work with the infrastructure that people have today. We can work with it as it kind of grows forward. So I guess just to wrap up, like what do we cover today? So we kind of covered off a little bit about what is the ICE Contact Center, what can we do, and the key takeaway there is that think of contact center as it's a way to apply structure onto your communications, and that we want to apply structure onto communications and do it in such a way that we can get out of the way of your users. I mean, users know how to use email, they know how to use chat, they know how to use voice. So how can we make that that process more intelligent? And then current and future options for Office 365. We work with it today. We worked with it last year. We worked with it the year before, and into the future. Things are only going to get better. Like the 365 product roadmap is good. Microsoft doing voice in the cloud is It's going to be exciting to see how it turns out. But it looks like it is so far a viable cloud voice platform that people can go in and enable that dial tone functionality. So we think ICE plays really well with that. And as far as how we align with the Microsoft strategy going forward, like I mentioned, ICE in Azure is something that we're looking at. Use of ExpressRoute to work directly against the Skype for Business online servers. Like I said today, you noticed on that slide, we have our own Skype for Business infrastructure in our data center. Eventually, it will be possible to run ICE directly against Office 365, which again for us is great. It makes our solution easier to manage, which makes it easier to deploy for you guys, which means that we can stand this up even faster and scale even better. So. I think with that, I'm going to give it back to Vivian and Nicole to do questions.
All right, thanks, Chris. So our first question that I'm going to ask you is, can ICE connect with legacy applications that work on touch tones?
Sure. Yeah, we ICE is, so one of the things that ICE has in the Workflow Designer is it does have the whole built-in IVR. So we can definitely do touch tone capture, and then we can also do touch tone generation on outbound dialing. So we can actually kind of connect into back-end systems that have those existing DTMF interfaces.
All right, thanks. And our next question: if a customer is leaving a message to be called back and an agent becomes available, can the agent take the call from the customer before they finish leaving the message?
Take the call before they finish leaving the message. Yeah, we could build that. So the way that, again, it's those kind of applications are all designed in workflow. So what we'll do is we'd have an action in there that would record the message. But then in the middle of recording that message, we could actually detect that there's an available agent and either automatically route the call to the caller to the agent, or we could prompt the caller and say, hey, there's an agent available. Do you want to talk to somebody right now? So yeah, that's possible.
All right, thanks. And our next question: can ICE integrate and use Service Hub?
Sure, it's a Skype endpoint, right? So anything that can run be a Skype for Business endpoint can be an agent endpoint, and actually anything that can be a Skype endpoint can call into ICE. So I've actually gotten calls into ICE from a Surface Hub. I've gotten calls into ICE from an Xbox, from a mobile phone. Anytime I come across anything new that runs Skype, that's one of the first things I'll try is, can I get a call into ICE from it? So, yeah, it plays it's pretty cool running on a Surface Hub. We don't have the desktop tool running on it as a universal app right now, but we have the ability to route contacts to it. So, yeah, it works pretty well.
All right, thanks, Chris. And our next question is for you, Brandon. Will you demonstrate the call center functions, searching for calls, playing calls, and evaluating calls?
That's something that we'd probably want to take offline because we'd have to go and set that up. But if you would like, since we have your contact information, we can get back with you and set up a demo for you based on what those different components that you're trying to look for. So yeah, absolutely, we can do that. But we're running out of time today, but we can definitely get that scheduled for you. So Vivian, Nicole, if you make sure we get that contact information, we get that out.
All right, thanks, Brandon. And our next question for you, Chris. Does ICE have automatic dialers for the outbound campaigns?
Yeah, I mean, we do preview, progressive, and predictive dialing. It's all fully tunable. We've got there's a web service interface for loading in prospects. That we can, if you want an automated pull-in for numbers, and then the agent UI for that, is going to depend on the campaign mode. But then, yeah, that includes, and then that's also going to include things like script pop-ups and all that stuff.
All right, thanks. And another question for you, Chris. What would a Canadian roadmap look like? We're looking at an enterprise system that would have a mix of agents and regular users.
What a Canadian roadmap look like? I guess I'm not sure what is Canadian specific about that. I mean, that's something that we play with well today. I mean, that's the mix of So you say a mix of agents and regular users. So I guess if you're wondering from a 365 standpoint, PSTN calls there. So right now, Microsoft doesn't support the E5, like the PSTN connectivity in Canada. They've rolled that out in the US, and I think their next target is UK and Western Europe. Just from talking to the people down there, I'm not sure where Canada lies on the priority. It's kind of complicated for them to sell voice in different territories. They have to go and work with work with government and work with taxation in every region. So what your best bet on that is today, though, is, again, like I said, standing up ICE against 365 or against on-prem link is fully supported today. So we can do that as a cloud solution. Inbound, outbound for agents is all supported through our cloud. For regular users, like if they're occasional agents, we can actually still let those users, if they log in as agents, they can actually place outbound calls. It's not really a full dial tone experience, but it's a way to get around it. So especially if you're doing sort of campaign type things, or if you're only placing occasional calls, it's something that we can manage. But again, recommendation today is also that you can use the one of the hybrid deployments. That's something that you can actually buy the E5s from Microsoft, manage the PBX in the cloud, but you have your SIP trunking coming in on-prem. There's sort of a minimum topology link server that's running on-prem as sort of an appliance. So that's really how it all kind of links together. So yeah, it's something we can do today. And if you want to get back in touch for more information, we can have someone reach out to you.
All right, thanks, Chris. And unfortunately, we're running out of time, so I'm just going to ask our last question to Brandon. How can we manage and create reports in ICE?
Okay, so ICE automatically comes with 100 standard reports. So over the last 28 years, necessity being the mother of invention, we've kind of built in and included all of the different reports that are the most popular, the most used. But we build all of our reports on Crystal reporting. So if you have a fundamental understanding of Crystal, or you know how to administer that, or you can use that, you can actually create your own Crystal reports and then upload those frameworks of those reports into ICE, creating your own little area within the administrator that shows your own, or within the reporting tool has your own report. So you can create those on your own. If you don't have those capabilities in-house as a professional service, we do offer custom reporting that you can then take and then add to your instance of ICE Contact Center. When it comes to reports, for example, pulling reports out of information out into Power BI, obviously you have to provide those tools, but we're going to make the information, or the metadata information stored by ICE in regards to all the different transactions available to you. So you have different ways to do reports. A, within ICE that are in regards to the contact center, or B, pulling information from the SQL database that allows you to create different business reports for yourself. So a couple different ways you can do that.
All right, thanks, Brandon. And unfortunately, we've run out of time now. So sorry we didn't get a chance to get to everyone's questions. So if you've asked a question today that we didn't have a chance to answer, we have your contact information, so we'll reach out to you to make sure all the questions are answered. As well as if you had any questions today and you didn't get a chance to ask them, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'd love to answer any questions you have. I'd also like to thank Brandon and Chris for presenting today, as well as everyone who joined us. And I hope you have a great afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you next time.